Well, a good evening to you. Great thanks for joining us. This is Prime Edition. All eyes are on the United Nations General Assembly. The discussion centering around security and, of course, issues of climate change. President William Ruto will be making his inaugural speech in some minutes to come. And I think his speech will be made after the Ghanaian president, that is Nana Akufo-Addo, then President William Ruto. And we'll be sure to bring you the details of his speech today. But, of course, as Regina will tell you, the concentration has much been about issues of climate and ensuring that there's a regional peace. And, you know, President Ruto has just chaired an African head of state or heads of state conference on climate change, and really talking about how Africa continues to bear the brunt of carbon emissions and what the continent needs to do to ensure that even the ones that are participating more in terms of carbon emissions are forced to even contribute to that fund more. That is the conversation.
Indeed, Kioria. And it seems that during the 77th UNGA conference, as we see, is that Africa is speaking in one voice, and they've already identified their areas of focus. That is matters of food security, climatic action, technology, and dialogue in as far as conflict resolution is concerned. And I'd want to maybe paraphrase what Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari said, is that Africa and other developing nations produce only a small proportion of greenhouse gas emissions compared to industrial economies, yet they're the hardest hit by the consequences of climate change.
Yes. And that obviously also was contained in the speech by President William Ruto. And you'll also remember that he has met the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres about 1 hour and a half ago. We'll be crossing over to New York, the big apple city in the United States, once President William Ruto is on that lectern and ready to address the world. But for now, let's have a look at the highlights. Maiden speech. President Dr. William Ruto addresses 77th UN General Assembly session in New York. No more trips abroad. Government suspends travel by top government officials. Ebola threat. Kenya on high alert. And witch hunt. Azimio legislators want IEBC to come out clean on interdiction of officer. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Sign language interpreter tonight is Lucy Mwaura. Let's begin our conversation tonight with the news that President Dr. William Ruto will be making his maiden address at the 77th United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States. President Ruto chaired a meeting of the Committee of State and Government on Climate Change. He's also expected to hold bilateral talks with several heads of state and government during the 4-day convention.
William Ruto will at 9 p.m. Kenyan time today deliver Kenya's national statement at the 77th United Nations General Assembly. The assembly that is taking place in person after 2 years of disruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic at the United Nations headquarters in New York, under the theme A Watershed Moment, a Transformative Solution to Interlocking Challenges, will see the head of states discuss, among other things, the war in Ukraine, climate change, and nuclear disarmament. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says President Dr. Ruto is expected to deliver his debut address to the United Nations and hold bilateral talks with several heads of state and government. In his capacity as coordinator, President Dr. Ruto will also chair a meeting of the Conference of African Heads of State on Climate Crisis. The 77th United Nations General Assembly coincides with the worst drought in the Horn of Africa, with many countries in the region, including Kenya, experiencing unprecedented effects in the last 40 years. For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Well, now to the local scene is that the government has suspended all foreign travel by cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries. In a letter addressed to the Attorney General Kihara Kariuki, the head of public service, Joseph Kenyu, said any such travel will be authorized by the president. The letter said the transition from the 4th to the 5th administration is still in progress, and that ministerial acts during this time are confined to the general management and Stewardship. Kenya further directed that cabinet secretaries should not make any ministerial redeployment or new appointments in any level within the ministries and state departments. State departments and state agencies have also been directed not to make any policy announcements unless approved by the president. The president is yet to name his cabinet, but is expected to do so after returning from the 77th United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York.
And our Chief Justice Martha Koome says the judiciary is keen on protecting devolution and enabling institutions established under the 2010 Constitution to function optimally. Koome, who addressed senators virtually during the second day of induction in Naivasha, noted that the devolved units are still evolving and hence the need to protect them from external interference. During the session, senators were also urged to exhaust all constitutional provisions as they seek to deliver on their mandate. Gladys Mungai with the details.
Chief Justice Martha Koome has assured the nation that an authoritarian system of governance has no place in the functioning of the devolved systems of governance. Koome, who addressed elected senators on emerging jurisprudence on Kenyan system of governance, claimed the judiciary is committed to protecting devolved units from external interference.
Courts serve to defend fundamental elements of the constitutional order from being altered or destroyed.
We apologize. We're going to cut our story. We're going to get back to it later. But right about now, let's head over to the UN. President William Ruto is speaking.
Immense privilege to join your excellencies in this distinguished assembly. A privilege made possible by peaceful democratic transition following free and fair elections in Kenya on the 9th of August 2022. Elections that not only stand as testimony of the universal power of democracy, but also of the manifest ability of African peoples to invest in stronger nations and a secure future. Robust institutions, effective constitutions, and the impartial administration of the rule of law guarantees the achievement of shared aspirations. This 77th session of the UN General Assembly comes at a unique moment when the entire world is struggling with multiple grave challenges that include regional conflicts, the COVID-19 pandemic, the triple planetary crisis, food insecurity, and the rising cost of living. I take this opportunity to congratulate you, Mr. President, on your election to preside over this session and to express my confidence that your wealth of experience offers us significant assurance of your good leadership. Your motto, solutions through solidarity, sustainability, and science, succinctly captures with particular resonance the urgent imperatives of our time. I assure you of Kenya's firm support and cooperation during your tenure. I further take this opportunity to commend your predecessor, His Excellency Abdullah Shahid, for his bold steps in steering the United Nations community and for ensuring its business continuity under the unprecedented circumstances occasioned by multiple global threats such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Excellencies, human well-being is under grave threat. The health of the planet requires urgent attention. The immense pressure exerted by conventional threats such as climate change, the global food crisis, terrorism, cybercrime, and armed conflict has been compounded by unprecedented, devastating disruptions due to COVID-19. I express my approval of the theme for this session, a watershed moment, transformative solutions to interlocking challenges. Because it boldly signals the window of opportunity we now have to escalate our engagement from firm consensus to decisive action. In many respects, the COVID-19 pandemic stripped us of many illusions and exposed stark justice and solidarity deficits in the face of existential crisis. It brought into sharp focus the global economy's two-lane highway, repressively patrolled by a rising tide of exclusionist nationalism, a specter that undermines prospects of collective action and significantly impairs the resolve of the international community to guarantee fundamental rights, including safety and dignity of the world's vulnerable majority. It is also for this reason that many nations, especially from the global south, now advocate for the democratization of the global governance and a reimagined multilateralism that is inclusive and works for the good of all. Kenya stands ready to work with other nations to achieve the Pan-Africanization of multilateralism and a more just and inclusive system of global governance. It is important to reflect on these matters as we do our best to get our people, enterprises, and industries back on their feet so that the engine of development can power our societies towards prosperity that actually leaves no one behind. To recover from the shock, I suggest that we have a golden opportunity to faithfully adhere to this motto by augmenting it inward and indeed with an additional B, building back better from the bottom. Building back better from the bottom upwards is essentially about including the marginalized working majority in the economic mainstream. The bottom millions relentlessly wage their daily battle for survival in a crowded arena characterized by scarcity of opportunity and generally precarious existence. The ingenuity, optimism, resilience, and energy in this ever-bustling bottom is sometimes called hustling. Invisibly to policymakers and beyond the reach of many public services, these hustlers take nothing for granted, surviving overwhelming odds and frequently succeeding greatly. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, things may come to those who wait, but only things left behind by those who hustle. It is time to bolster the resilience of our nations, to mainstream these millions through deliberate strategies and efforts for economic inclusion by building back better from the bottom up. The interlocking challenges of conflicts, triple planetary crisis, and the global food crisis have impeded our momentum and obstructed our focus on achieving fundamental transformations towards sustainable development. In the Horn of Africa region, severe drought and disruption of supply chains due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the Russia-Ukraine conflict, have left us food insecure, and consequently, we have been constrained to repurpose our strategies to prioritize drought and famine relief, insulating education and disruption and improving social protection and healthcare systems to secure the well-being of our people. Many countries now bear witness to the unsettling phenomena of rivers, canals, and water reservoirs that are drying up on account of drought and heat waves occasioned by climate change. Kenya is no exception. The northern arid and semi-arid rangelands of our country have been gravely impacted by drought, whose severity has not been seen or experienced in 40 years. 3.1 million residents of these atolls are now severely food insecure on account of scarce rainfall over 3 consecutive seasons, leading to poor crop and pasture. This unprecedented confluence of intensely adverse events has exacerbated water scarcity and starvation, worsened by rising food prices, thus complicating Kenya's roadmap towards delivering good quality of life to our citizens and hindering the progress to achieving SDG number 6 and SDG number 2. Severe drought has affected not only the Horn of Africa and the Sahel regions, but continues to devastate many others, including Asia, Europe, and the Americas. If for no other reason, the fact that we all are in this together must strengthen the case for concerted efforts across continents. With this in mind, I call on member states and all relevant stakeholders to demonstrate strong political will and showcase effective cooperation by supporting the most affected countries financially, as well as through sharing land restoration and climate change adaptation technologies. It is through collaboration to expand inclusion that we can attain a new paradigm in multilateralism. The latest report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reminds us that we cannot afford to waste another moment debating the merits of doing something vis-à-vis doing nothing. It will soon be too late to reverse the course of events, and then even the best possible interventions will not suffice. As leaders, every day is an opportunity to expedite our efforts to confront the triple planetary crisis. It will be recalled that during the Stockholm Plan 50 meeting, which Kenya had the honor of co-hosting with Sweden, there was consensus from states on the need to act urgently in addressing environmental impacts. Given this agreement, it is deeply concerning that little progress has been made in respect of the needful actions. It is time to collectively contemplate urgent measures needed to implement high-priority actions required to contain ongoing disruptions as we deliberate on long-term implementation approaches to be undertaken. I fully agree with the Secretary General's memorable statement that, and I quote, "We have a rendezvous with a climate disaster," end of quote. I add that we must not be taken by surprise. If indeed forewarned is forearmed, this is our opportunity to mobilize with tremendous urgency and take action at once. Excellencies, the agricultural sector has an important part to play in reducing the severity of climate change. A number of practices have a bearing, positive or negative, on various dimensions of the environment. Investing in modern agricultural technology is therefore one important avenue towards tackling prevailing environmental changes. Kenya is responding through substantial investment in climate-resilient agriculture. At the core of our 10-year strategy for agricultural sector growth and transformation are 9 flagships. They include the registration of farmers to direct incentives, improving farmer practice through customized extension services, monitoring of emergency food reserve stocks using digital food balance sheet, and the use of early warning systems to monitor food supplies and market prices. Agriculture remains the bedrock of the development of many nations and will thus continue to hold the key to the creation of equitable and sustainable growth for our people. No country, large or small, has ever attained significant growth without modernizing its agricultural sector. And as we rededicate ourselves to these targets, we must, in the immediate term, find answers to the severe deficit in the availability, flow, and accessibility of fertilizer to our farmers worldwide. I couldn't agree more with Secretary General Guterres on his warning right here yesterday that, and I quote, "Without action now, the global fertilizer shortage will quickly move into a global food shortage," end of quote. We are encouraged to note that education, health, agriculture, and numerous other public services have become increasingly reliant on digital access. The world needs greater investment in the development of ICT infrastructure, accompanied with policies that support innovation and increased acquisition and deployment of technology. In so doing, we should be driven by the conviction that these measures offer a viable shortcut to poverty reduction and the promotion of inclusive development. I call for stronger global partnerships to enhance ICT infrastructure in developing countries and bridge the yawning digital divide between the global south and the rest of the world. Excellencies, this 77th session of the Assembly follows the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the United Nations Environmental Programme, UNEP, at 50, as well as Stockholm plus 50, and the 4th United Nations Ocean Conference in Lisbon. Outcomes of these conferences demanded real commitment to address global environmental concerns as a matter of urgency and for a just transition to sustainable economies that work for all people. The March 2022 landmark resolution of the 5th United Nations Environmental Assembly in Nairobi to end plastic pollution is a decisive signal to the world that the world is prepared and motivated to act on this menace. Kenya is committed to work closely with other nations to pursue legally binding instruments aimed at bringing an end to plastic pollution. As the host nation to UNEP and the UN Habitat, Kenya affirms that these critical United Nations agencies have an indispensable role in the promotion of environmental sustainability globally, as well as developing socially and environmentally sound and sustainable cities. In keeping with its strong commitment to multilateral institutions, Kenya has made available more land for the United Nations office in Nairobi to facilitate the upgrading of its complex. I take this opportunity to call on member states to complement this contribution through enhanced financing to adequately modernize the UN facilities in Nairobi. Kenya remains a strong advocate for making the sustainable use of oceans and blue economy resources a development priority, holding the firm belief that significantly increased investment in this essential sector can end hunger, can also reduce poverty, create jobs, and spur economic growth. I urge the Secretary General to continue calling attention to the urgent need to develop this vital sector. In particular, I call on developed countries to invest in sustainable fishing, protect marine ecosystems, and share ocean-based climate solutions with developing countries. For our part, I am pleased to report that building on the historic 2018 Sustainable Blue Economy Conference in Nairobi, Kenya is reviewing its national blue economy strategy to strengthen community structures in participatory management of fresh water, coastal and marine resources, and ecosystems. The strategy is expected to contribute to our economic development through food and nutrition security, coastal and rural development, and income increases along the aquaculture value chain. It also enhances maritime transport and tourism. We invite development partnerships to invest in Africa towards building capacity to sustainably utilize marine resources. We must rally together to make the best use of Africa's vast blue resources in developing our economies while meeting our climate targets. As we look forward to the 27th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP27, scheduled for Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, it is logical to expect that member states will shift their attention towards the development and implementation of frameworks for climate change mitigation. Accomplishment of pending actions by member states is essential for the implementation work that lie ahead. I therefore call upon all of us to urgently deliver on all commitments made towards climate change financing. On this matter, it is critical to emphasize that we are running out of time. Over the past decade, Kenya has sustained its aggressive pursuit for rapid socioeconomic transformation through three principal roadmaps. First is the Kenya National Vision 2030. Second, the formal long-term blueprint aimed at transforming Kenya into a newly industrialized, urban middle-income country, providing high quality of life to its citizens in a clean and secure environment by 2030. The second has been the Africa Union's Agenda 2063, and the third, the Sustainable Development Goals. Kenya looks towards tapping into a variety of resources to catalyze the achievement of these interlocking and mutually reinforcing objectives. The disruption and ensuing crisis due to COVID-19 pandemic compelled us to diversify our focus into new interventions, including economic stimulus program, a COVID-19 economic recovery strategy, and a COVID-19 socio-economic re-engineering recovery strategy, all aimed at mitigating the adverse impacts of the pandemic. I confirm that we have done the best of everything we could in the circumstances. Nevertheless, it is not enough. Kenya and the rest of Africa, like other developing nations, are in need of greater international partnership and cooperation to avert economic crisis in the wake of the pandemic. Developing countries, being heavily burdened by external debt servicing, run the risk of losing development gains due to the shocks inflicted by the pandemic and associated disruptions. I call upon global financial institutions and the international community to take urgent measures and release all existing financial instruments to provide much-needed additional liquidity and secure better fiscal space for developing countries like Kenya to enhance social investment, support climate change adaptation and mitigation, and address security needs and resolve development financing challenges. On behalf of Kenya, therefore, I join other leaders in calling upon the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and other multilateral lenders to extend pandemic-related debt relief to the worst-hit countries, especially those affected by the devastating combination of conflict, climate change, and COVID-19. Furthermore, I urge the G20 to extend and expand the scope of the common framework to suspend or reschedule debt repayments by middle-income countries during the pandemic recovery period. At this point, I would like this distinguished assembly to take a moment and consider the peace and security landscape, a landscape currently beset with multiple challenges, yet abounding with considerable opportunities. Our home region of East and Horn of Africa is in particular burdened by significant conflicts and challenges with implications for the region's development. We stand on the cusp of first opportunity for galvanizing confidence-building measures to generate and sustain momentum towards sustainable peace. In its role as an anchor state in the region, Kenya has sustained our investment in diplomatic efforts to find lasting peace in multiple situations within and beyond the region. Although some processes have yielded undeniable success, challenges remain. I therefore strongly reiterate our call for partnership towards confidence-building measures and urge more concerted efforts towards sustainable peace and stability. Kenya is currently serving in the United Nations Security Council. I am proud to confirm that our engagement over the last 2 years has prioritized regional peace and security, countering terrorism and violent extremism, peace support operations, climate and security as critical contributions to the collective efforts to build a safer, more prosperous and peaceful world. I am also proud to state that Kenya has continued to champion closer cooperation between regional mechanisms and the Security Council as an effective means to achieving international peace and security. Kenya continues to advocate the renewal of the Africa Union security architecture, which draws comparative strength from the highly productive complementarity between the United Nations, the Africa Union, and the regional economic communities. Working closely with the 2 elected African countries of the A3 in the UN Security Council, we are committed to finding a stronger Africa voice in the Council and achieving a consensus-driven, rules-based multilateral system. It is our manifest intention to see greater Pan-Africanization of the global agenda in order to make multilateralism work for the people of the world in their diversity. It is time for multilateralism to reflect the voice of farmers, represent the hopes of villagers, champion the aspirations of pastoralists, defend the rights of fisherfolk, express the dreams of traders, respect the wishes of workers, and indeed protect the welfare of all peoples of the global South. Let me express the strong collective conviction of my country that the relevance, legitimacy, and moral authority of the United Nations will forever remain deficient, undermined by the absence of comprehensive reforms of the United Nations Security Council. We therefore remain firmly committed to reforming the Security Council to make it a more effective, representative, and democratic global institution. Given the magnitude and variety of challenges the world continues to confront, a more fit for purpose United Nations is urgently needed, one that possesses the legitimacy and efficacy in dealing with threats to international peace and security. A just and inclusive world order cannot be spearheaded by a United Nations Security Council that persistently and unjustly fails the inclusivity criterion. Similarly, threats to democracy will not be credibly resolved by an undemocratic and representative Security Council. It is vitally important for this critical institution to reflect the values it is entrusted to protect, to defend, to uphold on behalf of humankind. We welcome the call by President Biden this morning for the expansion of the membership of the Security Council as a significant step in the right direction, and we look forward to building consensus for the actualization of the same. The COVID-19 pandemic severely disrupted health systems, seriously challenging the implementation of programs that are vital for the realization of health-related sustainable development goals. To place us firmly back on track and accelerate our progress towards these SDGs targets, it is imperative for us to foster sustainable partnerships between governments, other state actors, the civil society, and the private sector. This modality of collective action is particularly vital for building resilient health systems, whose importance in enabling us withstand future pandemics and other health crises can no longer be disputed. For this reason, Kenya will continue to strongly support the development of legally binding World Health Organization international instrument to anchor global solidarity and promote equity. The fact of the matter is that the COVID-19 pandemic exposed for all the world to see the severe deficit of these critical values in our present multilateral configuration. Global supply chains remained impervious to demands in the global south generally and Africa in particular. Unequal access to vaccines underscored this unjust and unequal situation with unforgettable clarity. Whenever human life, security, and welfare is in jeopardy, it is immoral to administer interventions through frameworks that are anchored on fundamental inequality. We are all witnesses to admirable demonstrations of effective solidarity in response to crises in various parts of the world. Our knowledge of the possibility of spontaneous yet resolute global solidarity reinforces the African exception as particularly repugnant. From genocides and civil conflict to famine and pandemics, the African continent is consistently left behind to bear the brunt of weak solidarity and disastrous failure of multilateralism. History indicates the last time Africa was the focal point of strong and effective multilateralism and multilateral consensus was during the Berlin Conference of 1884-1885, and the character of the ensuing interventions casts a long shadow to date. Not to put too fine a point to it, the failure of multilateralism during crises which relegate the people of Africa outside the cycle of moral consideration and normalizes humanitarian neglect and other casual injustices are failures of humanity. Nothing about Africa, and I say nothing about Africa or its people makes it acceptable for this type of failure to persist in this era. And we have an urgent moral duty to do better, and to right this wrong. For decades, Africa has borne the brunt of three epidemics: the HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. I applaud innovative partnerships like the Global Fund for their progress in addressing the three menaces, and also welcome the ambitious targets set for the 7th replenishment cycle. Kenya is committed to supporting the Global Fund and implementing the agreed targets in order to actualize our pledge at the replenishment conference. Kenya calls upon all countries implementing the Global Fund programs, especially fellow African states, to remain at the forefront in championing for successful replenishment of the fund. This way, the mobilization of much-needed resources is enhanced, bringing us closer to the final elimination of these dangerous diseases. In conclusion, Kenya joins the Secretary General in calling for the strengthening of multilateralism as the only sustainable path to a peaceful, stable, and prosperous world for all. This is the imperative of our time and the call of this moment. It is time to work on the trust deficit with stronger conviction that none of us is really safe until all of us are safe. The theme of the 77th session, and I quote, "a watershed moment," transformative solutions to interlocking challenges, and of course demands that we recognize the crises we must confront are interlinked in a complicated way. They can only be effectively addressed through more imaginative strategies and innovative formula. A population of 8 billion people in a densely networked world increasingly looks up to the multilateral system as the anchor for their individual aspirations directly and indirectly through robust national frameworks. Increasingly, therefore, the United Nations system is expected to be responsive to these needs, and for the proceedings in this forum, in a forum like this, to speak to ordinary people in far-flung reaches of our incredibly diverse globe. It is impossible to address all their individual needs directly, but it is possible to respond to all of them by speaking with conviction to the universal values of equality, inclusion, justice, solidarity, and collective action, and by making sure that all our interventions effectively reflect them with clarity. The integrity of the international order must be measured by the distance separating our resolutions, consensus, and agreement from decisions, actions, committed interventions, and effective solutions. A watershed moment, therefore, demands that we reduce that gap drastically and quickly. Kenya pursues numerous essential domestic agenda through the multilateral framework. We are heavily invested in the strength, effectiveness, and eventual success of all interventions formulated by the United Nations. It is important that the output of this and other similar fora achieve immediate resonance in the minds and lives of our youth still seeking opportunity to express and actualize themselves, our farmers working to feed nations, our Juakali entrepreneurs striving in pursuit of success in the informal economy, and our professionals who formulate policy, implement strategy, and monitor service delivery in public and private sectors. Africa places immense value in the international community and the tremendous possibilities it can unlock through inclusive, sustainable, and effective action to transform the lives of our people and establish lasting peace, security, and shared prosperity. This watershed moment is our chance to turn the key and open this door of opportunity. We can make progress in addressing the triple global threats and liberate ourselves from the shame of past failures of multilateralism. At this watershed moment, we must not only choose, but also act decisively to bequeath our children and their children a greener, safer, healthier, and more abundant earth. Let us do it together, inclusively, multilaterally. I thank you.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defence Forces of the Republic of Kenya for his statement.
Inclusively and multilaterally. That's the final call.
Indeed, and
Ruto.
I like some aspects of the speech where we had actually the Kenya Kwanza manifesto coming up, and it came up building back better from the bottom. And a nice one here is that things may come to those who wait, but only things left behind by those who hustle.
That's his clarion call throughout the campaign, because he's also talked about building back better and from the bottom. That's, President Ruto's major call. But of course, one of the most interesting things, particularly when you talk about global politics, is the United Nations Security Council. And you remember President Joe Biden, who had spoken earlier, had spoken about why Africa needs, or the reform for that Security Council, and why Africa needs to have a permanent position. And that has also been anchored by President William Ruto. Remember, Kenya is serving an unpermanent role in the UNSC, or the United Nations Security Council. Now we need to have Africa anchored permanently in the United Nations Security Council.
Yes, a call for expansion of members of the Security Council, saying that currently the council as constituted fails the inclusivity criteria, and says that they need to reflect on the mandate that is, or rather the role that has been entrusted.
All right. There was also the call on, of course, saying Kenya is ready for Pan-Africanization. The Pan-African idea. Kenya is ready for Pan-Africanization of multilateralism. What Kenya gets, or what Africa gets out of multilateralism, it must also come in the context of Pan-Africanization. And you would say that has been quite a presidential speech from President William Ruto. Indeed. His inaugural speech.
Indeed. And keen focus on ICT there, saying that without ICT, then education, health and agriculture is likely to come to a standstill in Africa, and calls for stronger global collaborations to bridge the ICT inequalities.
Absolutely. I'm sure you can interact with this speech on our YouTube page. It is still live. If you missed on bits of it, you can just rewind back on our YouTube page and you'll be able to see that entire speech and listen to it once more. But of course, we'll continue with the broadcast after this break.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya joking kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811 *758#.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, Mr. Kipto.
Now I want you to write a composition using the word jogging.
Teacher, please give us spelling for the word jogging.
Sijasema jog ile jog ya kunyongwa. Hapana. Ninasema jogging. Na sijasema jog ile nye unasema jog ya kukimbia ya marathon, ama ile jog ingine ile jog ya television ya kucheka. Sijasema hiyo jogging. Na maanisha jogging ya brain ile kukimbiza akili cha changamoto. That a composition using the word jogging.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza *811 *758#, *811 *758#.
Unaenda wapi?
Wanapiga wimbo yangu. We, hiyo wimbo ni yangu.
Wewe na wewe usitupotezee wakati hapa.
Nakataa.
Mnakaa ni wewe.
Sikuwa rada. Ona siasa hii ndo niko rada.
Nakuuliza, mtu akitupa akili yake atoe kwa jichwa atupe, anapaki na nini?
Yule alikuwa ameweka kimongre mchini. Unacheki?
Mimi sielewi.
Si tuletee ufiatu kisi zako hapa.
Sikuwa na rambatada mtu wangu. Si hata ulikuwa unacheki ndara. Sikuwa na rambatada.
Mozimbiting.
Si simbiti kuzombo toto.
Ozibitingala simbitingi ebesingla esamade ni wewe.
Ando nakwambiaje, ukirieu, machuda, makete na makwete. Utazipata
wewe ngoja. Umeuliza nini? Wewe. Sitaki mchezo, unasikia?
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. Let's retake a story we did before we went over to New York. And Chief Justice Martha Koome now says the judiciary is keen on protecting devolution and enabling institutions established under the 2010 Constitution to function optimally. Koome, who addressed senators virtually during the second day of her induction in Naivasha, noted that the devolved units are still evolving and hence the need to protect them from external interference. During these sessions, senators were also urged to exhaust exhaust all constitutional provisions as they seek to deliver on their mandate, as Gladys Mungai reports.
Chief Justice Martha Koome has assured the nation that an authoritarian system of governance has no place in the functioning of the devolved systems of governance. Koome, who addressed elected senators on emerging jurisprudence on Kenyan system of governance, claimed the judiciary is committed to protecting devolved units from external interference.
Courts serve to defend fundamental elements of the constitutional order from being altered or destroyed. In such contexts, such as ours, with a history of authoritarian rule, which is also characteristic of many fragile African democracies, judicial review reinforces democratic governance by safeguarding core structures of democracy from being eroded.
Koome, who noted that devolved units are still evolving, called for the support and collaboration between various legislative bodies and constitutional commissions for effective legislation implementation to further empower devolved institutions.
We should always appreciate that ours, democracy, and our institutions are still fragile. They need nurturing, they need support, so as to discharge our responsibilities and so as to develop systems and structures that can withstand all the times and all the regimes.
Karo Saroni, who represented the Attorney General, called on senators to work towards non-duplication of roles by Parliament in oversighting the executive.
This not only leads to wastage of time and resources through the duplication of roles, but also risks resulting in different findings by different committees of the same House.
During the session, senators were also urged to ensure they exhaust provisions of Article 94 and Article 96 of the Constitution in delivering their mandate and not engage in superiority battles with the National Assembly.
Everybody reminds the Senate that your mandate is Article 96. The global mandate of Parliament is found in Article 94. And then now we assign you specific responsibilities in 95 for National Assembly and in 96 for the Senate. So while the Article 96 is more elaborate and specific, never forget that you have a responsibility under Article 94 as a national parliament. Because when the president sends to a bill from either house, it is a bill, is an act of parliament. It's not for any particular house.
Courts having vowed to protect devolution, stakeholders have been urged to enhance devolution even further. This is despite the challenges experienced 10 years on to enhance the achievement of the objective as enshrined in the 2010 Constitution. For Prime Edition from Naivasha, Nakuru County, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, MPs allied to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party have given the IEBC 48 hours to rescind the interdiction of Deputy Chief Executive Officer Ruth Kulundu. Led by their leader in the National Assembly, Opiyo and 17 members of Parliament accuse IEBC Chairperson Wafula Chebukati and Commissioners Boya Mulu and Professor Abdi Guliye of victimizing the Deputy Chief Executive because she stood for the truth in last month's presidential election. Yushoke Washira reports.
Speaking on the sidelines of the ongoing induction of members of the National Assembly, MPs allied to Azimio la Umoja Coalition Party claim IEBC Deputy CEO Ruth Kulundu has been interdicted.
She was served with an interdiction letter at 10 a.m. yesterday. Now, what is again more curious in this saga is that the decision to interdict Madam Ruth Kulundu was apparently or purportedly made by only 3 commissioners.
The MPs accusing IEBC Chairperson Wafula Chebukati and Commissioners Professor Abdi Guliye and Boya Molu of targeting the Deputy Chief Executive Officer because she defended the truth in the last month's presidential election.
Let us ensure that we build the institution to a stronger institution that Kenyans can have confidence to come out and vote. Let's not divide this country. All right? Let us continue now and focus on serving the people.
So I want to tell him we are watching, and as Azimio, we will not let this happen. And as we have indicated earlier, as Azimio team, we are there to defend the rule of law. And we want the lady's case to be handled, and justice must be given. We are not begging for it.
In the show cause letter, IEBC Chief Executive Officer Marjan Hussein Marjan accused Kulundu of, among other things, convening a commission plenary meeting on August 26th without his approval or delegation. The meeting that was attended by the 4 commissioners who disputed the presidential results announced by Chairperson Wafula Chebukati. The Azimio MPs insisting Kulundu is being victimized for no crime.
We cannot countenance a situation where public officers, civil servants, are being victimized arbitrarily for no apparent reason, but simply because they have been able to discharge their duties fairly and transparently and impartially. That is the crime Madam Kulundu has committed.
What the IEBC commissioners are doing, they are simply terrorizing staff. We wish him now to take his mantle and now resist these terrorists from antagonizing and actually pushing out staff who are doing the right thing.
With the contract of Chairperson Wafula Chebukati, Professor Abdi Gulie and Boya Molu expiring on January, the lawmakers want the 3 commissioners not to be involved in the delineation of boundaries. Geshoki Washira, Prime Edition.
There's another quite interesting story here. A one-time 208 million shilling SportPesa mega jackpot winner, Cosmas Kipngetich Korir, has been elected as the 5th Speaker of the County Assembly of Bomet. Korir garnered 32 votes to be declared as winner in the first round of the vote, with his close rival Weldon Kirui, a former MCA, garnering 6 votes during the election.
Elected as Speaker of the County Assembly of Bomet.
Cosmas Kipngetich Korir, who in 2018 won the SportPesa jackpot, on Wednesday floored 10 other candidates to emerge as the new Bomet County Assembly Speaker. He garnered 32 votes against Weldon Kirui, former MCA Kipsunoi, who got 6 votes after MCAs voted for the second time.
Today, following the swearing-in, the journey to serve and meet the immense expectations and the needs of Bomet people has just begun. I note that 4 honorable members who served in the second assembly were elected. They bring with them great experience that will enrich this house.
We will support the assembly kwa sababu tunatumikia mwananchi mmoja. So we will not be in any competition. They have their specific mandate. We have our specific mandate kama executive.
Elsewhere, Freddy Kiptui Plimo was elected as the new West Pokot County Assembly Speaker after garnering 25 votes against Philip Ambole Magal, who got 6 votes. In Kirinyaga County, Murimi Muteti is the new Speaker for the County Assembly. Murimi got 31 votes while his competitor got 0 votes. Murimi said that he anticipates a smooth running with no fights or squabbles with the executive. At least 2 people living with disabilities were nominated to the assembly.
Tutakuwa tunashirikiana na executive on the basis of collaboration, tukiheshimu both institutions are independent, lakini sote our intention is to make Kirinyaga better and to make devolution work.
In Kajiado County, Kenya Kwanza allied candidate Justus Ngusur Kilesi has been elected the Speaker of Kajiado County Assembly, defeating Azimio candidate Koin Lompo Papa. In the Makueni County, former Speaker Douglas Mbilu has retained his seat after defeating the former Azimio Nairobi Deputy Gubernatorial running mate Professor Philip Kaloki.
I am raising the need to be aware of our influence, the public, as the representatives of the people. Let each one of us, therefore, represent our people with dignity, purpose, and order.
Finally, new Wajir County Assembly Speaker Abdullah Yusuf Mohammed has pledged to work with the executive for the better service to the residents of Wajir. Abdullah got 42 votes against his only competitor Idris Abdi, who got 3 votes.
Therefore,
affection, or illness.
Now, the Ministry of Health has asked the public to be on high alert following one death attributed to the Ebola virus in Uganda. The death was reported Tuesday, and the ministry has in the meantime embarked on the screening of populations at risk, among them travelers, truck drivers, bush meat handlers and healthcare workers. According to WHO, previous outbreaks of the Ebola virus have claimed lives of at least 90% of its victims.
With one death case of Ebola virus of a 24-year-old male, a resident of Ngambano village in Uganda, having been confirmed and 7 cases being investigated, Kenya's Ministry of Health has scaled up its surveillance due to the porous nature of the Kenya-Uganda border in the western region, placing Kenya at high risk of Ebola importation. In a statement, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has called on the county governments to remain vigilant and enhance their surveillance, especially in counties located near the border points. Kagwe further asked the county government to adapt mechanisms such as activation of rapid response teams to support identification of any suspected case and report promptly. The statement by the ministry also urged those visiting Uganda and DRC, where cases have been previously reported, to take extra caution. The ministry has urged the members of the public to be on the lookout of the following symptoms exhibited by the virus, that is vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pains, headache, sore throat, measles-like rash, red eyes, and bleeding from body openings. Opicho Chemtai for Prime Edition.
And of course, you remember President William Ruto has spoken about the drought situation in the country, and a section of MPs from drought-stricken areas are calling on President William Ruto to upscale relief efforts in aid of over 4 million people reeling under the effects of drought in 23 arid and semi-arid counties. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta last year declared drought a national disaster. Speaking on the sidelines of an induction for members, the legislators asked state and non-state actors to boost mitigation efforts.
The members of parliament drawn from drought-stricken areas in the country now want state and non-state actors to upscale necessary interventions.
It's quite dire. It's quite dire in the sense that you'll see carcasses of animals everywhere, strewn everywhere. You will see people who are very weak, who cannot even walk, who cannot do their daily chores just because of hunger. You can see the whole vegetation is charred. You'll not see any piece of leaf.
The MPs say increasing loss of livestock is worrying, with the situation now threatening human lives.
Watangaza ya kwamba huko hali ya ukame za katika nchi iko katika hali hatari, ili tupate namna vile wafadhili wataingilia kati ili wasaidie watu.
Tumekosa mvua miaka miwili na saa hii kuna shida sana. Kwa hivyo vile tunaomba serikali ni iangalie, tukiangalia maneno ile ingine, hii maneno ya njaa imekuwa shida sana.
In Manyara County, the drought situation has reached alarming levels. More than 400,000 households are severely affected. 200,000 people are staring at food insecurity, and close to 100,000 children are likely to be acutely malnourished by the end of 2022.
Sina chakula chochote, sina kilo moja mchele kwa nyumba, sina maji hata ya kukunywa, sina chochote. Niko na bibi iko kidogo mgonjwa. Niko na shida mbaya sana,
na hata dawa ya wanyama na ya binadamu wote tunaomba wakuje wengi na waharakike kuharakisha hiyo watu kusaidia.
There is a lot of droughts. Animals are dying throughout. Goats are dying, camels are dying, and there's no livestock feeding. And also farmers nowadays they are not producing well.
The situation could, however, worsen, with the National Drought Management Authority warning that if the September rains fail, the county will be in crisis.
We classify drought in 4 phases. So for this county now, we are in the alarm phase of the drought.
In Kajiado, the county government has released food worth 75 million shillings to be distributed across the 5 sub-counties to aid more than 20,000 households dealing with the drought situation there. Area Governor Joseph Olilenko assured residents of a fair distribution of the relief food.
All of us are working together to identify their families
and also to distribute the support that will be coming from various quarters, whether from county, national, or other support groups, to make sure that we run a very transparent process.
A spot check in various primary schools in Kajiado indicated many pupils were unable to do their end-of-term examinations, as many had been enlisted by their parents to look for pasture for their dying livestock. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Matters of food security, they are continuing to shape the 77th United Nations meeting assembly that is currently underway there. Now we take you back to the corridors of justice, where embattled Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa is expected to be charged afresh before a Kiambu court after the Milimani High Court in Nairobi struck out his application seeking to stop any further prosecution. In a ruling by Justice Esther Minor, the court found that it lacked jurisdiction on the matter. Meanwhile, Busia Senator Okiya Mtata has faulted the extension of the terms of office of the directors in the Office of Speakers in the National Assembly and Senate. Mtata wants the court to compel the Parliamentary Service Commission to conduct fresh recruitment in accordance with the Constitution. Sarafina Robi with more details.
It is a short-lived relief for the FKF boss, Nick Mwendwa, after the High Court struck out his application, seeking to stop any fresh charges against him. This comes after the Director of Public Prosecution said they had fresh evidence to charge him, despite the initial withdrawal of his case by the state for lack of evidence. Mwendwa, who has been out on a 10 million bond, had been freed in a 38 million Kenyan shillings corruption case after the prosecution failed to present evidence on the matter. The DPP is now at liberty to proceed to charge him with fresh charges as anticipated earlier before the Kiambu court. Meanwhile, Busia Senator and human rights activist Okiya Mtata has filed a petition challenging the move by the 12 Parliament's Parliamentary Service Commission to convert the positions of Director, Speaker of Office of National Assembly and Director, Speaker's Office at the Senate from partisan contract terms tied to the tenure of the relevant Speaker to non-partisan terms of engagement on 5-year contracts, renewable ones. The Busia Senator says each speaker shall be free to appoint their personal assistants whose tenure expires with them. Mtata now wants the court to quash the recruitment process used and compel the Parliamentary Service Commission to fill the positions of Director, Parliamentary Budget Office, Director Speaker's Office on the National Assembly and Senate, among others, in accordance with the law. Finally, 3 former senior officers of Tana River County Government appeared in a Malindi court and were charged with allegedly irregularly procuring services worth more than 3.6 million shillings. The 3 senior officers, former Water Chief Officer Mohammed Mahmoud Gurach, former Director of the Tana Water and Sanitation Company Tawasco, Guyo Makugo Madobe, and the company's technical manager Salim Juma Makorani, they pleaded not guilty to the charges before Malindi Chief Magistrate Elizabeth Osoe. Sarafina Robi for Prime Edition.
And our young people have been urged to be peace ambassadors and promote peaceful coexistence through dialogue. Speaking during events to mark the International Day of Peace, organizers led by Global Peace Kenya Executive Director Daniel Juma Omondi, he said the peaceful coexistence is among ways to counter violent extremism.
That is larger than the BBC.
At Daystar University in Nairobi, hundreds of youth and students drawn from different learning institutions gathered to commemorate the International Day of Peace 2022.
This is in accordance with the aim of uplifting the efforts of youth and students, and as well as recognizing their role in peace building during the election period.
The theme this year is End Racism, Build Peace, and a sub-theme, A Redeemed Country After a Peaceful Election. Global Peace Kenya Executive Director Daniel Juma Omondi urged the youth to avoid being used for ideological, religious or political gains.
They become available for misuse, they become available for recruitment into hooliganism by those politicians, they become available for recruitment into extremism. So one of the most important tasks as the government and as a people and as the private sector is to be able to find a way, how do you utilize this energy of our young people.
Mkenya Daima Chairman Dr. Vimal Shah lauding Kenyans for their conduct during the just concluded general election.
How many people would say they're relieved that we had a very peaceful election? Put your hand up. Great, I see unanimous. Everyone agrees to that, right? That was important, right? So peace and happiness. What comes first? Happiness or peace? Can you have happiness without peace? Can you have peace without happiness?
A similar ceremony was held at Hiede Maria Primary School in Mathare North.
We activated the peace committees, starting from the sublocation level up to the divisional level. We have members in the peace committees, the Nyumba Kumi leaders, who really participated and ensured that we had peace in our area.
Wengi sana wamereform kutoka kwa crime. Hata hapa Malituko, vijana wengi wenye walihusika kupanga hii siku ya leo ni wengi wamereform from the crime.
Creating peace is not supposed to be done just during elections. It should be a process that continues. And moving forward, I think it will now be reconciliation.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission has also hailed Kenyans for their conduct during the electioneering period. NCIC Commissioner Sam Kona, who was in Uasin Gishu County, saying that religious leaders and the media also played a critical role in uniting the country.
Ni kweli dunia mzima ilikuwa inatarajia kwamba kutakuwa na ukosefu wa amani, mwagikaji wa damu katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Lakini Wakenya wenyewe walijitokeza na tulisimama kwamba wakati huu tutafanya election bila noma, na tulizunguka sehemu zote za Kenya, na nataka kuwashukuru wa Kenya kwa sababu waliitikia hiyo wito.
We coexist with many other communities. We are accepted that in this country we have all communities of Kenya, and therefore we will not do anything stupid to jeopardize the peace that we have really enjoyed.
Abdikhair Mohammed for Prime Edition.
Now, Kenya joined the rest of the world in commemorating the World Alzheimer's Day in what that is meant to create awareness of the disease among nations. The Ministry of Health says there is an increase in the detection of cases of Alzheimer's dementia in the country, even as it put more emphasis on creating awareness and reduce stigma that has been one of the biggest challenges among the caregivers. Patients suffering from Alzheimer's dementia have a memory loss and confusion.
Gladys Wanjiko is a caregiver to an Alzheimer dementia patient, her husband. She narrates to us how her husband started showing signs of dementia at the age of 45. She says it has been a challenging journey since her husband, now a retired teacher, could barely remember anything.
He had to go on early retirement 2018 because with this condition, normal day-to-day going on, you cannot do them because of the memory loss. You cannot remember what you taught. You can't even remember the classes you are teaching. So he had to go on early retirement 2018. And after his retirement, he now even started getting lost. He couldn't even find his way home.
Wanjiko says stigma has been one of the biggest challenges she has faced as a caregiver, as the society is not well aware of the disease.
Once you know what the condition is, I think the first thing that you need to do is acceptance. You see, once you accept it is a condition that cannot be reversed, then you do the best that you can for this person, because these are people, they are still people, and their dignity really needs to be checked. So you treat this person just like you really want to be treated, and as a person, even if he has lost his mind, he has lost his memory, he's still a human being.
Wanjiko says she has been losing a piece of her husband every single day, something that is causing her agony.
But when people get dementia, in fact, we call it a slow goodbye. You lose a part of this person every day. So like this week he was able to do this, next week he cannot. So we just wait for whatever happens, and we deal with whatever happens when it happens.
Wanjiko is among thousands of Kenyans affected directly or indirectly by Alzheimer. dementia disease, as the globe marks the World Alzheimer's Day. During the event commemorated at the Kenya Medical Training Institute, Nairobi, Dr. Mercy Karanja from the Mental Health Department in the Ministry of Health said the 2020 report on dementia indicated that it is among leading causes of morbidity and mortality.
So it's a disease that is actually of growing interest and has a significant impact both physically, psychologically, socially, to the people it affects and to the society. Hence the need to educate people, to create more awareness and to participate in the global agenda and local agenda on how to prevent, care for these persons and include them in our health packages.
Stakeholders saying the government should come up with subsidies to caregivers who have to spend a lot of money in caring for their patients.
Like issues of diapers for the caregivers, issues of medication, because a lot of these things are very expensive. And even getting their diagnosis only, and you can see we're talking about the post-diagnosis condition, how to support the people after they have been diagnosed with the condition. It is important that these families are able to access care.
World Alzheimer's Day is celebrated on September 21st each year. This year's theme for World Alzheimer's Day is No Dementia, No Alzheimer's. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
Well, time for us to take a breather. But of course, when we come back, Caroline Jenga is here with business. And before we do that, Regina,
let's speak matters film.
Absolutely. Let's talk about film now.
Yes.
And the Kenya Special Operations Forces have strived to protect our borders from terrorists. But what exactly do they go through in their line of duty?
Now, film producers in Kenya, through telling stories, have attempted to address challenges that our Special Operations Forces face in the line of duty, such as the film Mission to Rescue, which our reporter Jacqueline Macharia reviews tonight on our weekly feature, Cinemas and Theatre.
Umejiuliza mbona si ufanya zile vitu tunafanya?
The film Mission to Rescue is set within the military camp along the Kenya-Somalia border. The Kenya Special Operations Forces, who are training for their next mission, received word that the Assistant County Commissioner and 2 other people have been abducted by the Al-Shabaab militia. Abdi Malik, one of the captives, lost his son Salim to the Al-Shabaab, and in an effort to save him, he vows to protect the Al-Shabaab returnees from persecution by the militia and members of the community.
Is to rescue the hostages. These are our targets.
Mission to Rescue stems from the story of a French woman who was kidnapped by the Al-Shabaab.
Film Mission to Rescue, it's talking about radicalization, terrorism, and the rescue mission. That is what our security organs go through as they rescue the hostages. This time when there's this French lady who was kidnapped in Lamu by the Al-Shabaab terrorists. She was taken to Somalia. Just before the Kenya Defense Forces was deployed to Somalia to launch Operation Leadership. That is what stimulated or inspired this story.
Produced by Kara Lois Wambui and directed by Gilbert Lucalia through Foxton Media Company, the film cast features Warsame Res, who is a Somalia model actor and voice-over artist.
I was the lead of the Al-Shabaab terror group. It was a funny role. I've learned a lot in that role. Being an actor, you need to walk in the shoe of someone who's a murderer, who's dictator. So, and then there were different characters in the movie within Salim only. I always have to change from one gear to another, but it was really interesting and I loved it.
For this cast, they had really to undergo through a lot of training. This training actually involved even making them train like military, whereby they would wake up early as 4, start exercising, go to gym, so that they start having that, they start thinking like that soldier who can be trusted to go to a rescue mission.
The sheep
the sheepdogs, and the wool.
Mission to Rescue was selected as the 2021 Kenya entry for the Best International Feature Film at the 94th Academy Awards.
So with the government having come up with some of these commissions, like Kenya Film Commission, who are supporting our film industry a lot. I think the future is bright.
It's a game changer for the Kenyan talents who are here, and it's a way to show that Kenyans can do a lot.
These are our targets, Ibril and Mohammed.
Under the leadership of Captain Baraza, the soldiers attempt to capture the abductees and eliminate the enemy. Will the mission to rescue succeed?
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and the Theatre.
It looks like that will be a very interesting movie to watch.
Indeed.
Time for us to take a breather. The cinemas and theatre segment always comes your way every Wednesday. Let's take a breather. When we come back, Karo Janga is up next with business.
Let's take a look at today's business news with me, Caroline Jenga. Now, financial institutions are being encouraged to practice sustainable finance principles that require them to balance their quest for financial returns with the economy's future priorities and socio-environmental concerns. This emerged as Cooperative Bank was named the overall winner at the Kenya Bank Association 2022 Sustainable Finance Catalyst Awards. Equity Bank was second, while KWFT was third.
In a world that is reeling from the adverse effects of climate change, social and economic inequality, advancing sustainable finance practices has become increasingly critical in giving institutions an equal footing to act responsibly. This, however, is still not enough, as the private sector requires more capital to finance climate mitigation and adaptation measures in order to reach its targets.
We do have new opportunities that are emerging to mobilize innovation, capacity, especially in the financial system, to better meet the long-term needs of the real economy in a sustainable manner.
Consequently, the banking industry has come up with ways to innovate financing mechanisms that can be harnessed to promote the global agenda of sustainability.
Kenya's real estate and banking sector, for instance, have shown tremendous potential in encouraging the country to transition into a green economy.
Congratulations.
This emerged as Cooperative Bank was named overall winner of the Kenya Bankers Association Catalyst Award and was recognized for demonstrating exceptional performance in sustainable finance that has a direct impact on the financial services sector, economy, environment, and the society at large.
We call upon businesses to take initiatives to promote greater environmental responsibility, and today financing institutions have established mechanisms to manage and mitigate the environmental and social risks to be responsible lenders.
Equity Bank emerged second overall, while Kenya Women's Finance Trust third in the awards, which recognizes institutions that practice sustainable finance with a direct positive impact on the financial sector, the economy, the environment, and the society at large. There were 43 entries submitted by 16 financial institutions.
Kenya has been recognized as one of the countries that is most vulnerable to climate change, and this has prompted action from different sectors within the economy. Now, the Kenya Bankers Association has taken the mantle in green financing to ensure that their clients' risks are well taken care of and reduced with regards to matters climate change. Reporting for Prime Edition, my name is Nduta Mukami.
Now, poultry farmers in Kiambu, Nakuru and Nairobi counties are set to benefit from subsidized chicks and an assortment of extension services from Kenchick's one-stop shop in Rironi, Kiambu County. Now, Kenchick Managing Director James Toza says the subsidized chicks are aimed at increasing broods that have declined in recent months due to the high cost of animal feeds.
With the cost of animal feed at an all-time high due to the current drought affecting parts of the country and skyrocketing cost in the international market, some poultry farms have closed shop. Kenchick now says it will distribute subsidized chicks to assist farmers restock and reduce the cost of poultry products production.
And we are engaging with key stakeholders at the government level as well, for them to understand what's actually happening and the impact in the industry, as well as trying to mitigate against rising costs. I think we've been able to keep our costs as low as possible without compromising on the quality of the products we supply.
Kenchick has also partnered with UNGA Group to provide digitized extension services.
We're going on from that. We are looking at financial services, working with the bank, how we can partner to mitigate some of the costs of borrowing directly for farmers in credit facilities.
Then it's up to us to see. We work together to see how do we cushion, what elements of the cost can we take in as a producer or manufacturer to be able to cushion the farmer so that they don't close shop.
The developments comes after Kenchick commissioned the Rironi Chicken One-Stop Shop facility that offers an assortment of key extension services to poultry farmers.
We decided to open this Rironi with the opportunity of getting closer to the customer and really providing what they need in terms of services, products, extension services, technical services and financial services.
Poultry farmers are calling on the government to intervene and reduce the cost of animal feeds.
Kura ya kuku imetuumiza. Sijui tutafanya namna gani.
Every other week you go to the shop and they tell you there has been an increase in feeds, which has been such a big challenge for us because with the high cost of feeds we have fluctuating egg prices. The feeds may go up and the next market day the egg prices have gone down, and that is beyond us.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Some great news there for poultry farmers. Now, hospitality industry players at the coast are banking on the completion of refurbishment of the century-old 9-hole Mombasa golf course to boost tourism activities. The coast that is renowned for its beach and cultural attraction aims to diversify into sports tourism that is gaining traction.
The beach and cultural attractions along the coast draws hundreds of thousands of tourists yearly, making tourism the coastal region's main economic activity. The 20 million shillings refurbishment of the 111-year-old 9-hole Mombasa golf course is expected to further boost tourist activities, leveraging on uptake of sporting activities.
Cost us in the region of 10 million, and it is done. It's completed. That's why we're launching it today.
But we are looking at the next phase to automate the irrigation system, which all golf courses are moving towards.
The course has been undergoing a number of redevelopment projects over the years, with the latest being the installation of an irrigation system to water the grass.
Tunataka kuingia phase 2 ya hii project ambayo itakuwa ni desalination project.
Once complete, the golf course overlooking the Kilindini Channel, connecting to the port of Mombasa, will offer scenic views to golf lovers. The Mombasa golf course is strategically situated along the iconic Mama Ngina waterfront park and is among a top 100 historical sites gazetted by the National Museums of Kenya. Regina, Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Well, that is all we had lined up for you. On the other side of the studio, we have Richard Munga with the sports update. But before I go on, I wish my colleague and friend. Happy birthday, Regina Manyara Guitar. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much, Carol. And now from sports tourism to sports with me, Richard Munga. And on to a top story tonight, whereby five-time East Africa champions Kondanze Girls Secondary School will face perennial nemesis Kesogon on Thursday in the girls volleyball final at the ongoing Federation of East African Secondary School Ball Games in Arusha, Tanzania. Meanwhile, Kenya's Hospital Hill were bundled out after losing 22-25 to Uganda's Dynamic in the boys handball semi-finals.
And champions Kondanze humbled Rwanda IPRC Kigali by 3-1, while Kesogon saw off Mkalapa of Tanzania by 3 straight sets. The encounter will be a repeat of the national finals, where Kondanze defeated Kesogon to lift the title.
Kwa hakika haijakuwa rahisi, imekuwa ni vita na upinzani umekuwa mgumu, umekuwa ukiongezeka tunavyoendelea kiwango cha juu. La leo semifinali ya IPRC ya Rwanda ilikuwa ngumu kweli, lakini wasichana wangu wameweza kujitolea, wakajisatiti na wakabadili mbinu, wakaongeza pia ujuzi ambao kwa hakika umeweza kutuwezesha kuibuka washindi.
In the boys handball, Kenya's Hospital Hill were bundled out after losing 22-25 to Uganda's Dynamics in the semi-finals, while Moi Girls lost 14-20 to Kizinguru of Rwanda in the girls' handball. In girls' basketball, Olympic of Kenya lost 30-43 to Nabisusa of Uganda, while Uganda St. Noah humbled Orkeswa of Tanzania 57-48. Uganda emerged the overall winners in the previous edition of the East African Games held in Arusha, Tanzania, with 27 medals, 11 gold, 9 silver and 7 bronze, while Kenya maintained dominance in the athletics, bagging 10 gold, 11 silver and 6 bronze.
On to other matters. Reigning Africa volleyball queens Kenya Commercial Bank stunned Kenya Defence Forces by 3-1 in a friendly match played at the Roraka Sports Club grounds. This was KCB's first competitive match after Machakos Open Mega Volleyball Tournament back in July.
The Lioness won the first set 25-12, with their away side securing the second set win with a win of 28-26, before the Bankers won 25-18 and 28-26 in the third and the fourth set respectively. This was the team's first competitive match after the Machakos Open Mega Volleyball Tournament in July.
At least tulienda tukarectify ile ya Machakos kidogo, at least imetuinua. Kuna pressure because lazima to win league because tuliwin Africa, sasa lazima tu tupeane the good results.
With the Kenyan Volleyball Federation League set to resume in October, KCB assistant coach David Kinga said the team is on course to clinch the title having missed out last season.
The way I'm assessing the team right now, I can say that they are above average for the training because, by next month there'll be a league. So we are ready and preparing for the league. That's why I'm bringing so many friendly games so that the ladies can be used to.
Masi Moim, Belida Barasa, Immaculate Nekesa, Edith Wisa, and Sharon Chepchumba are the only absentees having made the final cut in the national team Malkia Strikers that is currently in Netherlands for the FIVB World Championships. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Well, earlier today we had Scotland manager Steve Clarke challenging his players to regain lost momentum and secure a win when, of course, they host Ukraine in the UEFA Nations League tonight in Hampden Park. At the moment, Ukraine leads League B Group 1 with 7 points after 3 matches. Scotland are second with just a single point.
Less than 4 months after battling it out in the World Cup playoffs, Scotland and Ukraine reconvene in the UEFA Nations League after the team ultimately missed out on a place at Qatar 2022, but occupy the top 2 spots in the League B Group 1. With a game in hand, on the other hand, 2 nations.
Well, that's an absolute stunner.
Scotland defeated Armenia 3-0 in the last Nations League game, while Ukraine, on the other hand, rescued a point against the Republic of Ireland through Artem Dobik goal, which leveled Nathan Collins' 31st minute opener. Scotland have only lost 1 game of their last 14 home games in all competitions, winning 9 and drawing 4 times, while Ukraine have won 7 of their 12 Nations League matches, losing 4 and drawing once. Kioria for Sports News.
The match at Hampden Park is actually at 0-0 at the moment. That is Ukraine versus Scotland. I shall be bringing you the results as well as the highlights of that match in a subsequent sports bulletins. Now, finally, Britain's Emma Raducanu overcame a late wobble to beat Japan's Moyuka Uchijima in the first round of the Korea Open in Seoul. Raducanu double-faulted on match point when holding a 5-love lead in the second set before winning 6-2, 6-4. The victory set up a last 16 match against Belgium's Janina Wickmeyer. Raducanu had been 10th in the world rankings in August but has dropped to 77th after losing in the US Open first round earlier this month. Uchijima, who has never played a Grand Slam match and is 126th in the rankings, won 4 games in a row in the second set to peg Raducanu back to 5-4 before the Briton served out the victory after 1 hour 18 minutes. Wickmeyer is a former world number 12 but is now 460th in the world rankings. Well, that's all the time we had for Sports Night. I'm Richard Munga. Do have a good night, but don't go too far. We're handing you over to Kioria and Regina, of course. A happy birthday, happy belated birthday, Regina Manyara.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it feels good, right?
Yeah, until someone asks you, how old are you turning?
That I'm not going to ask.
And no, you just say you're 21 with a lot of experience.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Asante.
And of course, too many more years. God bless you and keep increasing you, right?
Amen.
Fantastic. It's time for us to put a cap on Prime Edition. Of course, we've had an extension a bit because of the speech by President William Ruto at the United Nations General Assembly. But of course, after this, the reggae vibes are up next. My name is John Jacob Kioria.
And I am Regina Manyara.
All right.
Kuanzia mwezi huu tarehe 22 katika runinga uipendayo saa 4 usiku ni sherehe na kandanda. Kosa uchekwe.
Uongo mtupu, uongo, acha kudanganya watu, uongo.
Hey, security, soja.
Tulieni, ni ukweli, ni legit.
Sherehe na kandanda.
Has anything ever happened between the two of you? No?
Ile miaka mimi na mama yako tuko nayo, si miaka ya kupembelezana.
Sasa tujaribu mbembeleze tu kidogo na wewe ndio uko na makosa.
Mama Jane yuko huku ndani?
No. Just give me a minute.
Well, are you not happy to see me?
You asked Jen to pick you from the airport.
Niwaje? Uko na nia gani na familia yangu waswa? Mimi sikuelewi.
Wagwan Rasta. Kumbuka kila Monday ni Iris serving you nothing but the best in reggae music.
Maisha ni yangu. Washugulika na yako.
And on Tuesday, it's all about Kenyan music, bringing you the best from the 2-5 flow.
Brand new wheel, just hopped in.
And of course, to all you hip hop heads, we've got you covered each and every Wednesday. Not forgetting, we've got some R&B on the side.
Let me see, and let me see the woman that is with me.
Now every Thursday tunavuka border across Africa to bring you nothing but the best for Afro Thursday.
Ready for burn up warning, someone's playing.
And on Friday we do it live with me, Emily Mbai.
And me, DJ Koljax, on the ones and twos.
Not forgetting DJ_Lizadiva Pale Pia. Make sure you get interactive from 4:30 to 6 p.m. #KBC Club 1.
Greetings, good people. Welcome to the Big Bad Show, The Rave, live on KBC Channel 1 TV on this fine Wednesday evening. They call me Junior Ready, Big and Ready, 5-star General. VP DJ Stanley.
Me niko poa kabisa, Junior Dread. How are you doing?
I'm fine, my brethren.
I give thanks to the Most High.
Yes, sir.
For yet another fine evening when we rock you with the best of the best. Reggae music so nice, ndio tunasema unexpected, but the very best, ndio.
For real, for real,
yeah,
for real, for real.
Get interactive, tupate kusonga pamoja. Although tumeanza show kidogo tumechelewa.
Yeah.
After hiyo speech kutoka majuu, ndio.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
So everybody wanna feel irate right about now. Relax, sit back and enjoy, because we're gonna give you big people music till you drop. How's your DJ?
Yeah, man. Kwenye Twitter unatupata live, kwenye Instagram akumbuka atumia the hashtag #TheRaveKBC. Handle zetu si unazijua, @Radio Taifa FM, @KBC Television, @Junior Dread and @Stano DJ. Now once again, don't forget the hashtag is #TheRaveKBC. Kwenye Facebook JD,
Facebook kawaida manze, ni pale KBC Channel 1 TV ama KBC Radio Taifa. DJ Stano pia anapatikana Facebook same way with Junior Ready, Big and Ready. Wewe mwanzo check hizo page, like, follow, invite my bestie, wa follow na wa like. How see me selector?
Very true, very true. Are we good to go?
Yeah, man, we're good to go, my brother.
You ready?
Ready, Big and Ready.
Sawa sawa, tusonge na.
We're strong, let's come together. Oh yeah, side by side we stand and nothing can go wrong. Oh yeah, if we try to get along just with each other. Oh yes, that brings peace and love and plus a happy home. You know, 'cause this is a message of love, sending you blessings from our heart. This is a message to each and everyone, 'cause this is a message of love, sending you blessings from our hearts. This is a message to each and everyone. Yeah. We move forward hand in hand, we cross any border. Oh yes, if we keep our faith and trust, you know we're strong. Oh, look around you, what you see, there's lots of problems. Oh yes, for your children, keep tradition going on. Oh yeah, 'cause this is a message of love, sending you blessings from our heart. This is a message to each and everyone, 'cause this is a message of love, sending you blessings from our heart. This is a message to each and everyone. Each and everyone. Look, this is a message out to our sons and daughters. Keep up the high and order. We'll faith you never will falter. We love and respect will prosper. Now is the time for emancipation. Take me from segregation. Tell our born from creation. Unity now, no hesitation. What you do in life is all about your choices. Smile solution, satisfaction guaranteed. You standing, hold your ground, you make your commitment. So don't be idolizing fools, liars and cheats. No way, so don't be idolizing fools, liars and cheats. This is a message of love, sending you blessings from our heart. This is a message to each and every one. Yeah, cause this is a message of love, sending you blessings from our heart. This is a message to each and every one. One look me, take a look in a Jamaica and see a pure sexy woman there. One prick me, take a look in a Jamaica and see a pure sexy woman there. Disrespecting the girls in every way. Oh yeah, your mother is a woman and your girl got your baby. Your mother nurse and groom you from you was a little child. Oh why? I say she said you go to school and make you get versatile. Oh yes she did. Woman for love, woman for joy to make you free. Woman for love, woman for joy. I say hey, woman for love, woman for joy to make you free.
Woman for love, woman for joy. The body of a lady. Yes, she's soft and delicate. Not just stay up the beauty say. Let's get together, whole delegate. The body of a lady. It make the whole world a better place. Ladies always motivate. Just can't do without my lady. She born as a winner, here on a mission. Come here as a teacher, born with a vision. Trained as counselor, make right decision, and she come to be a leader. Can't do without one, no.
See you can live without them, but I can't do without them, no.
Oh, you fit do that?
Oh Lord, woman for love, woman for joy to make you free.
Woman for love, woman for joy to
I
make
say
you
hey,
free.
woman for love, woman for joy to make you free.
Woman for love, woman for joy. This woman is a beauty. I love her.
This morning, me a police meeting a curfew. Excitement. People are running over Miss Monica and them kill two. Them find Steve and bad boy Joe dead in them granny backyard. You see to twang. Them find Steve and bad boy Joe lay down in the backyard. You see?
They didn't take no shot every day, them stop. Never shop off the lock down before 6 o'clock. Never know say them coulda get gunshot, but I them run the place and I bust up the Glock. Not take no taxi, I them run the block. Because young boy back stung Mr. Mac, and him used to eat out time fat. Look at that.
Them find Steve and bad boy Joe dead in them granny backyard. Them find Steve and bad boy Joe lay down in the backyard. No youths me no run the place red, and who no drop a jail, them end up dead. So juvenile, me want to know all up on no head, and listen to the good words the elder them said. And no end up like Steve and bad boy Joe, we dead in the backyard. Like Steve and bad boy Joe, we lay down in the backyard.
Guess who's coming to dinner? Natty Dread. Wewe. Moto sana manzi. Hiyo ni Refix featuring Sing It Australia alongside the man called Mr. Michael Rose. How sio?
Very true, very true. Guess who's coming to dinner reading?
Yeah, wana.
No,
original manzi Michael Rose akiwa na ile band inaitwa Black ya Huru. The first reggae band wa Grammy Award. Noma tena sana manzi.
Kali sana. Alafu kwenye hiyo reading pia kuna kuaga na bugle wakiwa na ule madama anaitwa Tabitha. Ni kali pia ile tune.
Noma tena
video
sana.
Ndio hakuna.
Yes I.
Kali sana.
Anyway, massive on crew all happening right here live and direct kupitia KBC Channel 1 TV and KBC Radio Taifa. Remember every Wednesday Radio Mix TV ndani ya The River. Tukiwa na DJ Stano, they call me Junior Ready, big and ready, and I'm sure you're enjoying yourself. Jamaa wangu wa Farova, Mao. Kama Farova amesema manzeni aje anagotea Esther wa Farova. Na anasema gotea Stano hapo kazi poa sana.
Legoteka.
Rege nakuja vizuri. Asante sana. Yeah, same time big I'm a bridge in them. Muredhi government, jamaa wangu wa Meru, wananiambia wagu Andreda. Say hi to the following guys during the show. Wanacheki show saizi bana we. Watu wa Meru wanasema wagwan, big up man call Wilson Murioki and Emily mwenyewe. Au bana kwambia tumealikwa pale hivyo Meru Saturday.
Yes.
Kwa kule Pilau. Iko wedding ya Mr. and Mrs. Wilson Murioki na Emily. Big up yourself mazi. Alafu tena wengine natuambia hapa ni aje Junior Trader. Gotea wakili Henry Kigatira, proprietor mwenyewe Fun 24/7 Bar and Restaurant wanachiki show. Asante sana wakili meme wa Agnes Nairobi Massive, big up yourself. David Mutugi Nshari kama Shege Market, hizo majina za kivaite naoma tena sana. Gituma Chabari kama Shege, pia Villa Bar and Restaurant wako ndani yake. Kuna Mbae Pasoda kama Shege Market, Mzee Ojwang mwenyewe, Moses Muduri, not forgetting Turanira Mirito, Rafael mwenyewe Passenger na Kim Nchurai, customers wa power hapo City Annex Roire Market. Roire Market. Roire. Right.
Leo hujakosea sana.
Ni Roire.
Uko tu sawa.
By the way, watu wangu wa Roire tunakuja hii Friday, kesho kutu au sio? Reggae moto hapo, lazima come to dinner. Tuna ready and all must be crew. Watu wangu wa Nakuru pia wako ndani ya show, big up man call Mureithi. Ni Mureithi Junior ama Mureithi Senior? Big up Mureithi Senior. Mamandika wa Mureithi Junior. The man call 1 liter, big up yourself to the maximum. The man call Flom, kuna Lady Angela mwenyewe, Njeru wa Subaru ya Mambaru. Jeru wa Subaru ya Mambaru. Alafu not forgetting Batia Warugeo, Kimose mwenyewe, Mugo wa Maji, Wanjohi, Mancol Babs, na watu wangu wa Marsabit, Ruben Musioki and family, big up yourself to the maximum. Tuko live hapa hivi Stano, pande yako nadaiaje?
Hapa niko na wengi sana. Kwanza pale Twitter naona wamechangamka watu kwa kina Aisha Beams, big up yourself. Alafu pia kuna Ozil Derry Rank mwenyewe anasema aniambia leo ni birthday yake bana, ananikumbusha lazima tumwambie happy birthday bana. JD utamuimbia?
Nani ule?
Ukijana asumbufu ya Arsenali.
Utamuimbia? Arsenali wasumbufu ni wengi. Ni mgani in particular?
Aitwa Ozil.
Arsenal.
Derek Mwenda mwenyewe.
Derek Mwenda. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday Derek Ozil. Happy birthday dear Ozil. Nimetosha.
Utoe remix sasa.
Utoe remix.
Tukue tunacheza yako sasa. Tumechoka na ile ya King Web. Ya King Web tumechoka. Toa yako sasa.
Remix moja moto ya reggae. No worry yourself.
Haya basi, alafu pia kuna Kevo Mhambo, huyu ni jamaa kutoka pale Nakuru. Best yangu tena sana, amekugotea. Kuna Edwin Kimathi, big up yourself. Kuna Blackout Chiteri, big up yourself same way. Anasema yuko ndani. Alafu pia kuna Odis Ndui, yuko ndani pia, anasema hiyo ndio Shosha alikuwa ananiambia instrumental kali.
Shosho wake ni mrasi.
Ndio nashangaa.
Iko sawa.
Okay, alafu pia kuna Samuel Muchiri Ngonga, big up yourself. Watu ni kibao sana. Kuna Ken Wanaisa, big up yourself, anasema Maralal wako ndani, anaitisha mama Fatima ya Famara.
Fatima?
Maralal. Yeah?
Maralal.
Uko unafikiria nini? Nitaenda south.
Utasema Kinyeri.
Pole sana. Pole sana JD. Nilikuonea 18.
Ulionea 18.
Nilikuonea mbali sana.
By the way, umegotea hapa na legend wa Aquinas. The man called James Saisi, big up yourself. Always locked. Yuko legend kama Dibu pale vo. Big up the man called Paul Alan, wako wengi pale. Kuna government pathologists na wajua by the alikuwa yetu. Legend wa AQ pia. Big up Johnson mwenyewe, big up yourself. Watu wako wengi gidi